of many communities, one Chula Vista.
My question is for Pat. Pat, not just tonight, but over the course of years, I've looked at you and I've looked at Roberto, and obviously you're two very different people, two very different kinds of people. I just want to ask you, how would you distinguish yourself from Roberto?
Well, I'm prettier. But in addition to that, look, I have been working in this community as a volunteer for residents for 20 years now. How much time do I have to respond, Mr. Moderator?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. When two high-rise towers were proposed, condo towers were proposed in a nice, quiet neighborhood, I was there to say, no, don't do this, this is the wrong thing to do. When the president of Southwestern College wanted to build a shopping center across the front of the college, I was the one that stood up with my friends and neighbors and said, no, this is the wrong thing to do. When the city decided they wanted to compete with National City and have a mile of cars in Chula Vista, they wanted to build it in the middle of the Rancho Del Rey neighborhood, where the Home Depot and the Kmart and the Costco are located now. The city wanted to put a mile of cars there instead. With my neighbors and friends, we met with the city council members, we went down to City Hall, and we said, no, this is wrong. So what my life has been about seeing things that are not right and standing up and saying so and working to make them better. Mr. Peraza has been working for a number of Democratic politicians for most of his career, to the best of my knowledge. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's an honorable thing to do. But if you're looking for somebody who has been there for you over and over again when things were going on that threatened the quality of life for residents, then I'm the person that has done that. On the street we live on, people were speeding. Our neighbors got together, we met with the city, we got them to put in measures on the street to slow down traffic. I served on the Bayfront Citizens Advisory Committee, and I said over and over and over again, we must have a public park there. There are not enough parks on the west side of Chula Vista. And I was the one who demanded, banged on the table at every single meeting, that we must have a public park. We need more park space for the residents of Chula Vista.
Guys, we've had a rough 5 years. We've had a lot of attacks. We've had people arguing on our city council. We've had basically a political war going on for the last 5 years. So you're not going to hear me ask a question to continue that. I think we're going to have enough of that in some of the other races. This is something we need to bring this community back together. So my question is going to be focused a little bit more on that. Pat, I'd like to know, on day one, when you get into office, what are you specifically going to do to help create jobs in this community to diversify our economy?
Actually, you don't have to wait till day one. I've already done it. I've been speaking to everybody that I know, including people on the council, including officials at City Hall, about the idea that I mentioned before about healthcare. Bringing a healthcare industry to the city of Chula Vista. It's a natural. We've got the baby boomers who are aging. We're all going to be needing more and more healthcare. It's a clean industry. It's got good jobs. If at the university we can have nursing schools, biotechnology, teach medical, have industry that surrounds medical, manufacture of medical devices. So my objective now, and as will continue to be on day one when I'm sworn into office, will be to totally change the fundamental underlying economy of Chula Vista so that we are no longer essentially a residential bedroom community, but we become a center in South Bay for a clean industry. And when people think of Chula Vista, they'll stop thinking, oh, you know, the low-income suburb south of San Diego. They'll think, oh, Chula Vista, they're the South Bay, they're the head of South Bay for healthcare. People will come from all over, including across the border, come to Chula Vista to get healthcare services. So that is my #1 priority. It's what I am working on now, and it's what I will continue to be working on day one. I got a couple more minutes. Some of the other things, some of my other priorities involve bringing a first-class university to this city. I have a degree in architecture from UCLA. My background is in campus planning, and I think that I'm in a good spot to get a first-class university here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question of my good friend, Mr. Breitfelder. Mr. Breitfelder, you were you serve on the Otay Water Board. I think we all know that there's been a lot of scandal, a lot of bad stuff in the press about things going on the Otay Water Board. What's required on the Chula Vista City Council is somebody who has leadership skills. And so I'd like you to try to explain, given what's going on the Otay Water Board, how you can bring the kind of leadership we need here at the Chula Vista.
The Otay water experience, it aged me just a little bit, I have to admit. Otay had its scandals, God knows. And they account actually for me being there, because I'll make an unusual admission to you. Technically, I wasn't the most qualified candidate. I was running against one woman who had like 20 years of experience in the water industry, and another gentleman who wrote a book on wastewater. But people came to a conclusion, I believe correct at the time, that the problems at Otay weren't fundamentally technological engineering. They were human problems that required human skills and human insights. I want to put this in context. My priorities for the city, which I'm sure are not much different than Pat's or Roberto's, is to improve our neighborhoods, to increase prosperity, and to increase a level of trust, because that's fundamental to the last two. At Otay during my time, we had what could have been a scandal. I don't know if you recall about the Fenton office building, but there was a cross connection, not done by Otay, done by a contractor, that connected a recycled water line with the commercial building. So some of that water was used for coffee and that sort of thing. Again, it wasn't done by the water district, but our inspector didn't catch it. It was our fault in that respect. And instead of going into a bunch of closed sessions unnecessarily or with extra length to cover things that didn't need to be covered in closed session, we handled things as openly and publicly as possible, as painful as that was at the time. And it was a difficult experience, but it was a good lesson for staff. It showed them what we're really about as an organization in terms of truth and responsibility. And it is why when we take our customer service surveys of the public, our consumer confidence is 87%. That's not a statement for Larry Breitfelder or any other board members. That's a statement for the organization. But in that respect, on that incident, I think we did our part.